What if Darth Vader arrived in Marvel Universe? Darth Vader stands alone in the viewing chamber of his Star Destroyer, feeling a new wound in the Force. It is not in his galaxy, yet it calls to him like a distant scream. He activates an ancient Sith holocron and learns of a fractured realm where power and chaos overflow, a place he could bend to order. Using the holocron's map, his ship's hyperdrive, and a blood-red kyber crystal, he focuses the Force to pierce the thin wall between realities, even as his armor groans and his lungs burns. With a sound like tearing metal inside his mind, the breach opens above an unfamiliar blue world, and the Star Destroyer is dragged through. The sky over New York City rips open. Clouds twist into a spiraling wound of light. Thunder rolls without rain. People on the streets stop. Cars honk and then fall silent. Phones rise into the air as everyone points up. A wedge-shaped shadow pushes out of the light. It is huge and wrong, like a metal mountain turned upside down. Fire washes over its sides. The front of the ship is cracked, as if the journey itself tried to crush it. Inside the main Sashtil D helicarrier, alarms scream. "Put it on every screen," Nick Fury says. His one eye narrows as the Star Destroyer breaks through the clouds. Tell me that is not another alien invasion. On another screen, Tony Stark sits in his lab in upstate New York. Armor plates open around him like metal petals. "Big triangle, not Chitauri," he mutters. "Friday, run everything. Metal signature, energy signature, weirdness signature." "Energy pattern is unlike any known power source," Friday says. "Also, weirdness signature is off the charts." In the Sanctum Sanctorum, Dr. Stephen Strange looks up from a glowing circle of runes. The air tastes sharp. His cloak tightens around his shoulders. "That is not from our universe," he says softly. "Wong, prepare the wards." Something just punched a hole through the walls of reality. On the streets, a boy in a red and blue suit swings between buildings. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, hangs upside down from a web line and stares at the falling giant ship. "Okay," he says. "That is either the coolest thing I have ever seen or the start of a very bad day." The Star Destroyer's engines fail. The huge ship tilts. Towers shove past its underside. Windows shatter from the shockwave. A skyscraper's upper floors crack, and a chunk of glass and steel begins to fall toward a crowded avenue. Inside the crippled ship, Darth Vader feels gravity twist. Panels explode. Red lights flash. Stormtroopers stumble in the corridors, but he ignores their screams. Only the breach matters. Only the wound in the Force. He reaches out with his will. Outside, in the open air above New York, the falling skyscraper piece stops. Not all at once. It jerks and slows, shuddering as if an invisible hand has grabbed it. On the ground, people scream and then fall, silent as they look up and see the heavy shape hanging in the air. Vader stands at a broken viewport, one gloved hand lifted. The strain is real. This world is thick with life, with power, but the breach is still open behind him. The Force hums like a live wire. His chest plate beeps faster. His breathing unit wheezes. He pulls. The skyscraper fragment turns. It drifts away from the crowded avenue and crashes into an empty construction site instead. The impact shakes the ground and sends dust into the sky, but no one dies. He releases his grip and drops to one knee. His lungs burn. The damage from the transit stings like fresh fire under the armor. Codex note: this world answers the Force, but it pushes back with its own deep weight and rules. The Star Destroyer is not as lucky. It drags across the upper floors of 2 towers and tears them open. Then the giant ship falls toward the Hudson River. Fire blooms around it. With the last strength of its failing thrusters, it tilts and slams into the water instead of the city. A wave higher than the bridges rushes out. The first person to hit the water in response is not a human at all. The Hulk lands like a green meteor, fists first, straight into the wave. Water explodes around him. He roars and pushes back, legs digging into the riverbed, muscles swelling as he slams the surge away from the nearest buildings. On a nearby rooftop, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, squints through the smoke. Her earpiece crackles. "We have a crashed alien warship in the river," she says. "No confirmed hostiles yet. Hulk's buying us time." "Copy that," Steve Rogers, Captain America, answers. He stands on another rooftop, shield on his arm, wind whipping at his suit. "Everyone converge. Thor?" A boom of thunder replies. Thor drops from the sky, Mjolnir in hand, lightning dancing over his armor. He hovers a moment in front of the burning Star Destroyer, eyes narrowed. "This craft carries a strange storm," he says into the comm. "I feel a power like your magic, Strange, but colder, angrier." Dr. Strange opens a glowing portal beside him, floating in the air. He steps out, cloak flapping. "The barrier is cracked," Strange says. "This ship tore through the fabric between worlds. We are standing next to a bleeding wound." "Then we fix it," says Tony Stark. Iron Man rockets up from the city, red and gold armor blazing, repulsors bright. He circles the wreck, scanning. "Structural failure everywhere," Tony says. "Power core is busted, whatever it is. Heat is dropping. Strangely, no radio chatter, no signals I can read. But something heavy is in there." "Aliens again?" Spider-Man asks, landing on the side of a nearby building. He clings there with one hand and peers out. "Because I did not bring my Fight a Giant Army playlist." "Stay sharp, kid," Tony says. "We don't know what we're dealing with." On the helicarrier, Nick Fury watches the feeds as Avengers gather around the half-sunken warship. "World Security Council is already screaming," he says. "One more surprise from the sky, and they might ban capes, hammers, and flying metal suits. Let's keep casualties low, people." "Sir," a SHIELD agent says, pointing at another screen, "something is moving inside the wreck." The feed zooms in on a shattered hangar bay. Smoke pours out. Then a black figure steps through the fire. He is tall, taller than Captain America, almost as tall as Hulk's chest. Black armor covers him from head to toe. A long cloak flows behind him despite the heat. His mask is smooth and dark, with narrow lenses that glow faintly. A control panel blinks on his chest. A red blade of light ignites in his hand with a sharp hiss. Spider-Man freezes. "Okay," he whispers. "That is new." "Unknown energy weapon," Tony says, voice tighter now. "Friday." "Light but solid," Friday says. "Energy density off the charts. Heat levels extreme. You do not want to get hit by that, boss." Darth Vader looks out at the strange heroes and the strange city. The Force swirls around them. The man in red metal burns with a sharp, clever light. The man with the shield glows steady and firm, like a rooted tree. The Thunder Warrior shines like a star. The Green Giant is a raging storm. The red-haired woman is cold focus and hidden knives. The boy in red and blue is quick and bright and scared. This world has champions. He feels the open breach behind him, still tugging at his bones. It is unstable. If it widens, more things will fall through. More worlds might touch. This chaos is not order. "You are trespassing on Earth," says Captain America. He speaks through a drone speaker, voice echoing across the water. This is our planet. Identify yourself and state your intent. Vader's breathing fills the space between them. In, out, mechanical, slow, patient. I am Darth Vader, he says, his voice deep as the void. I seek power to bring order to the galaxy. Your world stands in the path of a greater threat. Tony Stark mutters. Why is it always greater threat? Into the comm, then says out loud, Okay, Space Knight. You crashed into our backyard. If there's a bigger problem, we handle it together. But first, we make sure you're not the problem. Doctor Strange floats closer, cape billowing. You tore through the walls between dimensions, Strange says. Do you know what that means? Do you know what could follow you? Vader turns his mask towards Strange. The sorcerer glows in the Force like a beacon. The eye of Agamotto at his neck hums with tangled time. I followed a wound in the Force, Vader says. I did not create it, but now that I'm here, I will not turn away from it. The air shifts. From the edges of the sky rip, the color changes. The blue light swirls to deep purple. Sparks dance. A new sound fills the air, like 1,000 metal wings. Portals open inside the wound. Ships pour out, not like Vader's, sleek and curved, with glowing engines and jagged edges. Smaller craft swarm ahead of them, carrying armored soldiers with ridged helmets and strange rifles. Doctor Strange's eyes widen. This pattern, he says, I have seen these mines in visions. Tony Stark's HUD flashes warnings. We have multiple hostiles, alien design, not matching any file I have. Oh good, new friends. On a rocky throne far from Earth, hidden somewhere in the black around Saturn, a massive figure opens his eyes. Thanos watches through a hologram as the Chitauri fleet, reshaped and empowered since the last invasion, pour toward the torn sky over New York. The breach is open, he says, and a new piece has entered the board. He leans forward. In his left hand, the purple Power Stone and blue Space Stone glow in a metal gauntlet. Let us see how this Darth Vader shapes the game. The first wave hits hard. Chitauri flyers scream down through the sky like a rain of metal insects. Energy bolts cut the air. Civilians run for cover as cars explode and glass showers the streets. Captain America does not wait. Avengers, assemble! He shouts. He leaps from the rooftop, lands in the middle of the street, and raises his shield. Iron Man drops beside him, repulsors already firing. Thor slams down ahead of them, lightning cracking from his hammer into the sky. The three stand shoulder to shoulder in the middle of a ruined avenue. That single image, three heroes in a line under the torn sky, sears itself into every camera and every watching heart. Spider-Man swings past them, webbing a Chitauri soldier out of the air. Hi, sorry, excuse me, alien bug, leaving now, he says, almost out of breath, but his voice is tight, not playful. Hulk hurls a broken bus into a cluster of flyers, roaring. Black Widow rides a black motorcycle between burning cars, firing at Chitauri soldiers that land on the street and try to take hostages. She slides, spins, and shoots with calm skill. Darth Vader steps onto the ruined dock. He rolls his shoulders once. The armor still feels wrong. The transit burns small faults into the circuits. His breathing unit whines. He ignores the pain and looks up at the falling army. The Force reaches out to him. It is full and loud in this world, tied to so many lives. He can feel every scream, every heartbeat, every flash of fear. He lifts his red blade. He moves. He walks straight off the edge of the dock to the Avengers. It looks like he's falling. Then his boots touch thin air. He's walking on nothing, held by the Force. He rises into the sky, cloak whipping around him. Chitauri flyers swarm toward him, seeing a single target. He extends his left hand. The lead flyer twists sideways, smashed by an invisible blow. It slams into the next and the next until a chain of broken craft spirals into the river. A Chitauri soldier fires at him from the side. Vader tilts his saber, and the red blade drinks the shot, scattering energy. More shots, more blades of energy. He deflects them back with simple, brutal skill. The attackers explode in midair. He reaches out and crushes another flyer, the metal squealing as the pilot screams in his head and then falls silent. Tony Stark whistles softly inside his helmet. "Okay, that's new," Tony says. Magic sword guys playing pinball with alien ships. "Focus," Steve says as a group of Chitauri charge him. He bashes one aside with his shield and kicks another into a parked car. We don't know his limits. We don't know his goals. "He saved people," says Spider-Man, swinging by. "He saved that building, Cap. That has to count for something." "Intent is not the only thing that matters," Dr. Strange says, hovering above the street, hands already moving in circles. Orange shields form in the air, blocking incoming fire. Power without rules breaks worlds. He feels the tear in the sky growing as more ships pour through. He steps through a portal and appears beside Vader, both of them hanging in the air over the river. "Your presence makes the wound worse," Strange says, voice raised over the noise. "This dimension is not meant to carry the Force in this way." "The Force is in all things," Vader answers. "Even here. You simply do not understand it." He reaches out again, pulling a Chitauri craft into the path of another. His vision narrows. Black spots flicker at the edges. His chest panel flickers red and yellow. Each use of the Force now drags against the damage from the breach. Each large act makes his suit glitch and his lungs ache. He ignores that too. Codex note. The breach wrapped itself around Vader's life support, so that large uses of the Force now strain both the world and his own failing systems. On the ground, Black Widow sees a group of Chitauri break past the front line toward a group of trapped civilians in a subway entrance. She speeds up. Her bike jumps a broken curb. She fires into the lead soldier. Too many. Too close. The Chitauri raise their rifles. The rifles fly out of their hands as if a giant hand slapped them. The soldiers grab at their throats, clawing at nothing. One by one, their necks twist with sickening cracks. Black Widow slows, staring. She looks up and sees Vader's outstretched hand. He releases the dead and turns away, already taking down more flyers. Natasha swallows hard. "Okay," she says under her breath. "He's efficient." Later, people will replay the footage many times. They will see that he saved those civilians. They will also see the calm Force choke, the easy way he killed without warning. To some, that will look like justice. To others, it will look like terror. The first wave of Chitauri breaks. With the combined power of the Avengers and Darth Vader, the invaders crumble. Hulk smashes their heavy tanks in the streets. Iron Man and Thor clear the skies. Captain America and Black Widow protect the civilians using shield and gun and grit. Spider-Man darts from fight to fight, moving people out of danger. Doctor Strange holds the portals back as best he can, sealing small tears with glowing sigils. Up to now, the heroes and Vader have fought side by side against a common enemy, but they have not yet decided if they are on the same side. Then the sky ripples again. The Chitauri ships pull back as if ordered. The wound in the clouds tightens, then stabilizes. Purple and blue light flickers in a slow, cold pulse. A new shape steps through the air, not from a ship, but from a smooth oval of space that twists open over the river. He is huge, taller than Hulk, broader than Thor. His skin is purple. His armor is black and gold. On his left hand is a metal gauntlet set with two glowing stones. One purple, one blue. Thanos floats out of the portal and does not fall. He stands on the air as if it is stone. He looks down at Earth, at the ruined streets, at the heroes, at the black-armored figure with the red blade. "Another champion," Thanos says, his voice carrying across the water. "From another world. How interesting." Doctor Strange's heart sinks. "Thanos," he says. Tony Stark's stomach turns cold. "Of course it's you," he mutters. Captain America tightens his grip on his shield. "Round 2, he says. Darth Vader feels the Power Stone and the Space Stone like grenades thrown into the Force. They twist the field around them. They bend space, crush and pull and crush again. He can feel Thanos' mind as a bright, terrible point. Not mad, not wild, focused, cold. "Who are you?" Thanos asks. He turns his heavy gaze on Vader. "I am Darth Vader," Vader says. "You lead this invasion." "I lead all things soon enough," Thanos says. "I did not send this wave to conquer. I sent it to test the breach, to see what your arrival did to this world's skin." He raises his hand. The stones glow brighter. "You see," Thanos says, "I collect power to save life from itself. This universe wastes itself. It breeds without sense. It eats its own. I will fix that. Half will die so that half may live." Vader's breath rasps. He has heard words like that before. The Emperor spoke of order, of peace, of control for the greater good. He remembers fire and sand and smoke. "You destroy worlds," Vader says. "You call that mercy. You are wrong." Thanos smiles slow and easy. "And you kill without count in the name of order," he says. "We are not so different, Darth Vader." The Avengers stare between them, hearing more truth in those words than they like. "Enough talk," Thor says. Lightning dances along Mjolnir. "Leave this realm, Titan, or face our wrath again." Thanos looks at the heroes, then back at Vader. "These ones have troubled me before," he says. "But you are new. You cut a hole between realities. You bring a power not counted. In this universe, you could be a tool or a threat." The Power Stone flares. A beam of raw violet energy bursts from the gauntlet, not toward the Avengers, but straight at Darth Vader. Vader slams his will forward, trying to catch the blast with the Force. For a breath, he does. The beam hits an invisible wall in front of him. Air screams. The river churns under their feet. His arms shake. Then the barrier cracks. The energy tears through his defense and hits him full in the chest. His control panel explodes in sparks. His armor blackens. He is thrown back, slamming into the remains of his ship's hull. Metal caves in around him. Every wire in his suit screams. Pain floods his ruined flesh. The force around the Power Stone is not just raw strength. It is a twisted echo of life itself, compressed and used as fuel. It bites into his link to the Force and scrapes it raw. He cannot stop a short, sharp cry from escaping his mask. On the helicarrier monitors spike red. "Whatever that stone is," ASHIELD Tech says, "it just hit him harder than anything I've seen." Nick Fury watches Vader slump among the wreckage and does not look away. "Good to know. That purple alien can hurt the new guy," he says quietly. "Bad to know he can hurt him that much." Power scaling interlude. In the ruined street below, Bruce Banner watches the blast and mutters, "That wasn't just power, that hurt him inside." Doctor Strange, eyes on the stones, says, "Those gems are shards of cosmic law. They touch the same deep field his force comes from, but they cage it, twist it, direct it." Tony Stark, running scans, adds, "His powers are like a soft grip on gravity and minds. Thanos just punched that grip with a loaded universe battery." Captain America says, "So, when that gauntlet hits him, it hits both his body and whatever soul thing he uses to move stuff." Spider-Man shivers and says, "So he bleeds twice from one punch." Vader forces himself up, circuits flicker. Half his chest panel is black, his breathing is shallow, ragged. He looks at Thanos. "Impressive," he says, each word pressed through the pain. "But you are not a god." He leaps. He does not truly leap. He throws himself through the force, hurling his body in a burst of speed. His red blade is a streak of light. Thanos brings up the gauntlet and catches the lightsaber on the metal of the Infinity Gauntlet. Sparks spray. The blade does not cut the metal. "Interesting," Thanos says. "We will speak again, Darth Vader. When you know what kind of monster you truly are." He twists the space stone. A blue flash wraps around him. The Chitauri ships still in the sky vanish with him. The portal in the clouds snaps shut. Silence falls over New York, broken only by sirens, crackling fires, and the distant sound of people crying and cheering. The first invasion is over. The bigger war has just begun. They meet in the Avengers compound's main war room. The walls are screens. A map of Earth glows on one side. Footage from the battle plays on another. Doctors work in the hall outside, treating the wounded. The air smells like burned wires and coffee. Darth Vader stands near the far wall. He's plugged into a cluster of cables and strange machines Tony Stark cooked up in the last hour. Wires run from his chest panel to an arc reactor sitting on a cart. His breathing is still harsh, but more steady. Tony walks around him, scanning with a handheld device. "You know," Tony says, "I have seen some weird armor in my life, but this is a walking life support system wrapped in anger." Vader does not turn his head. "My armor is not for you to judge," he says. Tony lifts his hands. "Not judging, diagnosing. Big difference. Your ship's power core blew. Whatever field lets you do that. Wave my hand and people choke thing now pulls against our reality. And when Thanos hit you, the feedback nearly fried your lungs." "But he lived," Bruce Banner says from across the room. "He is in human form now, arms folded. He took a direct hit from the Power Stone and stood back up. That matters." "We don't even know who he is," Nick Fury says. He stands at the head of the table, coat still dusty from the battlefield. "We just know he's the reason that thing." He points up at footage of the breach, opened wide enough for Thanos to shove his nose through again. Doctor Strange stands beside Fury, arms folded in his own way, cloak hovering behind him. "He did not make the original wound," Strange says. "He followed it, but his crossing made it worse. His power is not designed for our rules." Steve Rogers sits with his shield on the table in front of him. He looks tired and worried, but his eyes are clear. "He saved people," Steve says. "He moved that falling building. He stopped those aliens near the subway. Whatever you think of his methods, those people are alive because of him." Natasha Romanoff leans back in her chair, eyes on Vader. "He also snapped the necks of 6 enemies at once," she says. "No warning, no attempt to disarm, just death." "That was efficient," Vader says. He turns his mask toward her. They were armed. They were about to kill civilians. Ending them was the fastest path to safety. There's a difference between fastest and right, Natasha says. You ever hear of capture? Of interrogation? My duty is to end threats, Vader says. Fear keeps order. Order keeps peace. Spider-Man sits near the end of the table, hands fidgeting. I mean, he says, I've done things in fights I'm not proud of, but we try to hold back, to give people a chance. That's kind of the point, right? With great power. He trails off, daring not to finish the old line with Vader in the room. Vader's breathing fills the gap again. I know what happens when you hesitate, Vader says quietly. When you let fear of what you might become stop you from doing what must be done, you lose everyone. The room falls silent. Tony glances at Steve. They all hear the weight in Vader's voice, the pain of old loss. Fury breaks the silence. We are not here to run a therapy session, he says. We are here to stop Thanos. He now has at least 2 stones again. He knows our defenses, and now he knows there's another heavy hitter in play. The question is, does this man in black stand with us, or is he just another variable to control? Doctor Strange steps forward. Thanos is using the stones as a lever on reality, Strange says. He wants to balance life. That is his twisted word. But the deeper danger is what happens when stones from this universe and power from another mix. The Force and the stones touch the same root. If Thanos learns to use Darth Vader as a bridge, he could rewrite more than half the life in this universe. He could break the rules of both realities. So we lock Vader up, Natasha says. Problem solved. You can try, Vader says. See, that right there is why we are nervous, Tony says. We don't cage well. Neither do you, I'm guessing. Steve leans forward. We do not use people as tools, he says. Not Thanos, not you, not anyone. That's his way, not ours. But we also can't ignore that you are dangerous, so we have a choice. We treat you like a prisoner, or like an ally who needs clear lines. He looks at Vader. I vote ally, Steve says, with rules, with trust that has to be shown, not just spoken. Trust, Vader repeats. I trusted once. I was betrayed. My trust built an empire of lies. You built an empire of fear, Steve says calmly. That's different. From where I stand, Fury says, it doesn't matter how he feels. We need a plan. Doctor Strange nods. Thanos will come again, Strange says. We cannot simply defend the next time. We must understand how to hurt him, how to stop him at the root. That means understanding the link between the stones and the Force. He turns to Vader. And that means you, Strange says, whether you want it or not. Vader is quiet for a long moment. I have hunted many enemies, he says at last. Jedi, rebels, warlords, monsters. I know war. I know the cost. If this Thanos seeks to cull life as if it is a field of grain, then he is worse than any I have served. He looks at the map of Earth. I will stop him, he says, with or without you. Yeah, see, that's the part we can't let happen. Tony mutters. Guy with death laser sword charging off alone to fight a cosmic serial killer? Hard pass. Then we fight together, Steve says. But we need clear values. Values will not win this war, Vader says. They're the only reason we should care who does, Steve replies. Up to now, the Avengers have seen Vader as powerful and dangerous, but this is the first moment they hear his true view of order and fear. And they must decide if they can stand next to him without becoming what they fight. An alarm tone cuts through the room. Energy surge, Friday says through the speakers. Same signature as Thanos' stones, different location. A map lights up. A point in space, just outside Earth's orbit, flashes. He's back already? Tony asks. No, Strange says, eyes narrowing. This is not him. This is another, shape. Another room in the compound. A dark, round device sits on a table, surrounded by SHIELD techs. It was recovered from the wreck of Vader's ship. It glows now, with a strange red light. Containment breach, one tech yells. The device floats into the air spinning. A thin line shoots out of it, linking to a point in the sky. Vader stiffens. The holocron, he says. No? He shoves away the cables and strides toward the door, ignoring Tony's protests. What is a holocron? Spider-Man asks, hurrying after him. A Sith record, Vader says. Knowledge stored in crystal and code. It mapped the wound between worlds. I used it to find you. The breach damaged it. It is unstable. Like a busted portal generator, Tony says, running beside him. Like a wounded animal, Strange says, trying to go home. They reach the room as the holocron pulses brighter. The air around it warps. The line of light stretches out the wall, up through the roof, and into the sky. It's opening another door, Banner says. Maybe for Thanos, maybe for something worse. So shut it down, Natasha says. Vader steps forward. If I crush it, he says, the map is lost. The path between my world and yours will close. I will be trapped here. So will any damage my presence makes. He reaches out with the force, sensing the holocron. It feels like a wounded mind, screaming to reconnect to its source. If I let it live, he says, Thanos may use the path. He may send more armies. He may reach my galaxy too. He looks at the Avengers. Is mercy to this device worth the risk to both our worlds? He asks. Is my way home worth that risk? That's not mercy, Steve says. It's nostalgia. It's fear of being stuck. Home is why many people fight, Natasha says softly. It's not a small thing. Dr. Strange raises his hands. The more that path is used, the thinner the wall gets, Strange says. Soon there might be no wall at all, no here and there. Just a broken, bleeding mess. We have to sever it, now, Tony nods. Agree with Wizard, he says. We close the door. We keep Thanos from getting a multiverse lounge pass. We can figure out your return trip later, maybe, if you're still alive. Vader looks at the drifting holocron. Inside it is a map of the galaxy, worlds he has ruled, worlds he has burned, and somewhere, deeply buried, memories of two sons, of a woman's smile, of a boy who once wanted to be a hero. He tightens his hand, the holocron shatters, the line of light snaps, the energy surge cuts off. The device falls to the table in a spray of dull crystal dust. The room falls quiet except for Vader's breathing. You chose survival of two worlds over your return, Steve says. You chose the harder path. I chose the only one that offers any order, Vader says. If Thanos breaks the wall, there will be no stable reality at all. I cannot build control on that. His chest panel flickers again. Strange sees a dark mark in the air where the holocron's line was, like a scar. The wound remains, Strange says. Thanos can still use the breach he created, but at least we have cut off one path. Not enough, Fury says over the comm. Intelligence reports just came in. We have cult activity linked to Thanos all over the globe. Hydra remnants, AIM splinter cells, people calling themselves children of balance. He's spreading a faith. He is turning death into doctrine, Strange says. So we hit his followers, Natasha says. Hard and fast. take out his ground game while we plan for the big purple boss. We need more than punches, Banner says. We need to know how to hurt him like he hurt Vader. You want to understand my weakness, Vader says. Then you must understand the Force and the stones and the way they pull at each other. He looks at Doctor Strange. You are your world's master of magic, he says. You are its keeper of rules. You must take me where those rules are written deepest, where the core of your reality can look upon me and tell me what I can do and what I must not do. And where is that? Tony asks. Strange's eyes flicker with golden light as he looks inward and outward at once. Far above us, he says, in a citadel between stars, a place where a being called the Living Tribunal judges what may exist and what must end. So a cosmic courtroom, Tony says. Great. Do I need a tie? You need to live long enough to get there, Fury says. Strange, Rogers, Stark, you form a plan with Vader. Romanoff, you and Banner handle the ground cults with our other assets. Thor, you coordinate with off-world allies. Spider-Man, you stay alive and listen. What about me? Hulk asks. Fury grins slightly. When the time comes, he says, you smash. Up to now, the heroes have won a first battle and made a hard choice with Vader about the breach. But they still do not know how to truly hurt Thanos or control the dangers of mixing the Force with the stones. The briefing takes place in a dim room lined with stars. Doctor Strange uses magic and holograms together. Lines of light trace paths between galaxies. Images of the Infinity Stones spin in the air. Space, power, mind, soul, time, reality. A red figure of Darth Vader stands at the center. Wireframe lines showing his armor and chest unit. Blue waves surround him, representing the Force. Thanos wants all 6 stones, Strange says. With them he can do anything from snapping half of all life out of existence to tearing open the fabric between realities. He already has the power and space stones. He has hurt Vader with them in a way that normal energy cannot. He points at the wireframe. The wave around Vader warps where the power beam hit. The Force is a field linked to life, Strange says. It runs through living beings, through matter, through time. Here that field already exists quietly. You do not call it the Force, but we can feel parts of it. When Darth Vader came through the breach, he brought his own pattern, his way of touching that field. He points at the glowing stones. The stones are chunks of the same fundamental fabric, Strange says. But they are not gentle. They are focused and crude, like hammers made from gods. When their energy hits Vader, it scrapes along his connection to the Force, burning both his body and his mind. Bruce Banner nods slowly. So he's like a tuning fork from another song, Banner says. And Thanos is slamming universe drums against him. The clash is what hurts. Can we shield him? Steve asks. Not fully, Strange says. We can dull the blows, but there is another answer. We can learn the rhythm Thanos is using. Then we can play the stones against him. Tony taps his finger on his other arm. You want to teach Vader and our magic systems to sing back at the stones, he says, to push their energy back into his gauntlet. Strange nods once. But there is a risk, Strange says. The more Vader leans into this world's field, the more his presence presses against the walls between universes. He could make the breach worse just by trying to save it. If he draws too much power, he could do Thanos' work for him without meaning to. So he fights with his hands tied, Steve says. He holds back. Vader stands very still. If I hold back, he says, I will fail. If I fail, this world dies. He remembers Mustafar. Lava rising, a hand reaching, his own scream as a friend cut him down. He remembers how hard he tried to hold on then. He failed anyway. We need rules, Strange says. Limits, a mandate from something higher than me. Higher than the stones. Higher even than the Force as you know it. Or we work blind. You keep talking about this living tribunal, Tony says. A cosmic judge. How do we reach him without dying on the way? Strange draws a symbol in the air. A path of light appears, leading from Earth to a distant cluster of stars. There is a corridor in space, Strange says. A safe lane that links this planet to the Tribunal's throne. It is guarded. It is strict. It will not welcome Vader easily. That's why you bring backup, Steve says. Thor smiles. I would see this. Judge of yours, he says, Asgard has its own higher powers, but a new court is always entertaining. Entertaining is not the word I'd use, Banner murmurs. Strange points at the path. We travel by ship, he says, a mix of tech and magic. Tony and I will weave a hull that can pass through reality folds. Thor's storm can power it. Captain America and Spider-Man will provide human eyes and hearts. Darth Vader will be our test. The tribunal will measure him and decide what he may do. What about Thanos? Steve asks. He will not sit still while we take a field trip. That is why I'm staying, Natasha says from the doorway. Banner, Wanda, Vision the others. We hold the line here. We track his cult. We stop his followers from opening any more doors while you play cosmic court. Vader turns his head. Why risk so much for me? He asks. You could simply exile me, kill me, try to fight Thanos alone. Because that didn't work last time, Tony says. We tried to handle him by ourselves. Half the universe vanished. We got lucky we could fix it. This time we use every tool. Even creepy space wizards in black armor. Steve nods, and because we don't judge a person only for what they were, he says. We judge them for what they choose now. You know nothing of what I was, Vader says. Steve meets his gaze, unafraid. I know enough, he says. You said you built an empire of fear. You said you lost everyone. That's all I need to know. I've seen people climb back from worse. Vader looks away first. Up to now, they have planned in broad strokes. But this is the moment when they choose to risk everything on a journey to a higher court instead of just fighting Thanos head-on. And when they tie Vader's fate to the fate of this universe. The ship they build is like nothing Earth has flown before. Its frame is stark tech, sleek curves, layered armor, engines wrapped around an arc reactor core. Strange weave spells into the hull, making it shine with faint runes. Thor blesses it with lightning, tying it to his storm. Wakandan vibranium plates line the nose, courtesy of Black Panther's support. They call it the Aegis. In the medical bay of the Aegis, Darth Vader lies on a reinforced table. Tony Stark works under his chest armor, hands steady for once. You know, Tony says, you could make this easier if you just took the helmet off. Vader's hand tightens on the edge of the table. That is not possible, he says. The damage beneath is severe. I've seen severe, Tony says quietly. I live with severe. Mine just hides better. He pauses, then adds, I'm not trying to shame you, man. I'm trying to understand how much this system can take. If the tribunal says you can't use your lightning fingers as much, we need you alive without them. He adjusts a wire. I am not a man, Vader says. I am what is left when a man fails. Tony snorts. Buddy, he says, that sentence just described most of us in this room. In a quiet room down the hall, Steve Rogers sits across from Doctor Strange. So you really think this tribunal will listen, Steve says, that it cares about us? It cares about balance, Strange says, about the story of reality. Mortals are pieces, but pieces matter. Sometimes a single piece can change the whole game. Like Darth Vader, Steve says, or like you, Strange replies. Spider-Man sits alone in a small cabin, knees pulled up, mask off. He replays the battle in his head, the way Vader held the building, the way he choked the Chitauri, the way he chose to smash his way home to dust. He's scary, Peter whispers. But he's trying, I think. I hope. Hulk sits in the cargo bay, looking at the stars through a small window. Hulk no likes space judges, he grumbles. But Hulk likes smashing Purple Man more. We'll get our turn, Banner says in the back of his mind. If we survive this. The Aegis launches. It breaks through the atmosphere in a streak of light and vanishes into a tunnel of magic and folded space. The voyage has begun. The corridor between stars is not empty. It is a tunnel of shifting light, like a river of color frozen in motion. The Aegis glides through it on steady engines and spells. Outside, shapes move in the distance. Hints of worlds, echoes of other paths. In the main cabin, Thor, Steve, Strange, Tony, Spider-Man, and Vader sit strapped in as the ship hums. If anyone throws up, I am sealing their seat in a bubble, Tony says. Spider-Man raises his hand halfway. No promises, he says. This is like space roller coaster times 1,000. Vader closes his eyes. The force is strange here. It stretches thin, then thick, in waves. He feels whispers from other universes, other versions of events. He could reach out, he could pull, he could tear. He keeps his hands still. You're holding back, Strange says, watching him. For now, Vader says, they are not alone for long. Halfway along the corridor, a shadow appears. It is a ship, but not like any Tony or Thor know. Its lines are sharp and cruel, like a blade made of night. The hull drinks light instead of reflecting it. Red engines burn at the back. It slides into view behind them, then pulls alongside. Alarms beep in the Aegis. We have company, Friday says. Unknown vessel. Its energy signature is familiar. Very familiar. Vader turns his head. His mechanical heart skips. His flesh remembers a different life, a different ship, a different war. That design, he says, it is a Sith destroyer from my galaxy. That thing followed you? Tony asks. Through a broken map you smashed? That seems unfair. The dark ship opens a hangar bay. A figure steps out and walks on the corridor's surface, as Vader did over the river. The laws in this place are soft. He is not in armor. He is young. His hair is long and messy. His clothes are Jedi robes but darkened. A blue lightsaber hangs at his belt. His face is one Vader has not seen in a mirror in many years. Anakin Skywalker walks toward the Aegis. No, Vader whispers. This is a trick. Doctor Strange's hands move. He feels the flow of the corridor. This is a construct, Strange says. An echo. A mirror made by the breach and the stones. Not truly your past self, but close enough to cut. They open the hatch. The two Vaders face each other on the translucent floor of the corridor, ship behind ship. You shouldn't have let it happen, Anakin says. His voice is young, rough with anger. Let what happen, Vader says. Her death, Anakin says. Their deaths, the way the galaxy burned. You chose fear. You chose to obey. You chose to choke and crush and build an empire that broke itself. You failed everyone. Now you're doing it again. Joining one warlord to stop another. I do not serve Thanos, Vader says. Yet, Anakin says. But he speaks your language, order, balance, the greater good. You know how this story goes. You've played that role. He ignites his blue lightsaber. You could do it right this time, Anakin says. Take his gauntlet, take his stones, use your force and his power together. End all war in every universe. Force everyone to be safe. They won't like you, but they'll live. Isn't that worth anything? Thor, Steve, and Tony watch from the hatch. That's the mirror foe, Strange says quietly. A twisted version of his better self, or a better version of his twisted self. Hard to tell. Anakin points his blade at Vader. Step aside, he says. Let me take your place. I won't hesitate like you. I won't doubt like you. I'll do what needs to be done without crying over it. You sound like the Emperor, Vader says. He ignites his own red blade. You sound like I once did, he adds, before I learned that control without love is only another kind of fear. Their blades clash. Red and blue light fill the corridor. The impact sends ripples through the path. The Aegis shudders. Steve grips his seat. We can't just watch, he says. We must, Strange says. This is his trial, not ours. If we interfere, we make the mirror stronger. Peter grips the doorframe, eyes wide. He's fighting himself, Peter whispers. How do you win against that? Red and blue sparks fly. Anakin moves with speed and grace. He fights with hope that has turned hard. He presses Vader back with flurries of strikes. You're slow, Anakin says. You're weak. You're afraid. You're nothing but a broken shadow of what I could have been. Vader blocks high, then low. His joints ache. His burned flesh cries out, but his mind is clearer than it was when he was young. You are right, Vader says between strikes. I am a shadow. I am a lesson, but I have learned something you have not. What's that? Anakin snarls. He lunges. Vader steps aside, lets the momentum carry his younger self past, and slams the hilt of his saber into Anakin's back. Anakin stumbles, but does not fall. The galaxy is not yours to fix alone, Vader says. You cannot save everyone by taking away their choice. That is not peace. That is a prison. You sound like a Jedi. Anakin spits the title like a curse. No, Vader says. I sound like a man who cannot bear to see another world burned by his hand. Anakin screams and attacks again. This time, Vader does not meet him head-on. He deflects. He steps aside. He lets the fury burn itself out, cutting only when he must, never killing blows. The corridor shakes. The Living Tribunal watches from far ahead. The stones hum from far away. The clash between force and mirror sends echoes through the path. A flash of pale gold lights the darkness. A vast three-faced form appears in the distance for a heartbeat. Then another. The very sight of it makes Tony's stomach twist and Thor's eyes widen. The tribunal's gaze passes through the corridor. With that brief look, the path twists. A wave of energy slams between the two fighters. They are thrown apart. The dark ship behind Anakin cracks and dissolves into drifting dust. Anakin's form flickers. You choose weakness again, he says, voice fading. You'll fail them again. Maybe, Vader says, but this time I will fail trying to save, not trying to control. Anakin's face softens for a moment. Then don't be me, he whispers. He fades into nothing. Vader stands alone in the corridor, saber dimming. He feels a fresh ache in his chest that has nothing to do with wires. Codex note. The mirror foe carved a self-inflicted scar in Vader's mind, one that hurts when he chooses mercy over control, but also anchors him away from Thanos' simple solution. The Aegis moves forward again. Inside, the team takes a breath. Up to now, Vader has faced aliens, a Titan, and his own twisted reflection. Steve thinks, soon he will face something older than all of them and decide what kind of weapon he wants to be. The Tribunal's citadel hangs in a sea of light. It is not a building so much as a shape of impossible stone floating in a void full of stars. It looks like a city and a courtroom and a temple at once. Tall spires reach up and down into infinity. Rivers of energy flow around it like slow lightning. As the Aegis approaches, figures rise to meet it. They are not human. Some are tall beings of light. Others are armored shapes with faces like blank masks. A silver man on a board of shining metal glides near the windows, eyes cool and curious. The heralds, Strange says, guardians of the tribunal. The ship slows and stops. State your purpose, a voice says. It speaks in their minds. Dr. Strange steps forward. We come from Earth, he says, from the realm where you once allowed the Infinity Stones to exist. We seek judgment. We bring with us a being from another reality who carries a power called the Force. We need to know how he may act here without breaking what you guard. The voices murmur. And what do you offer in return? Another voice asks. Knowledge? Obedience? Sacrifice? We offer truth, Strange says, and the chance to stop a Titan named Thanos from using the stones and this new power together to undo your work. Silence. Then the citadel opens. They are allowed inside. They stand in a vast hall. At its center floats a giant three-faced head with no body. One face looks forward, one left, one right. Each face has different eyes. One open, one closed, one half closed. Light pours from the spaces between them. The Living Tribunal. Its presence is heavy without being loud. It is like gravity for the soul. Thor lowers his head in simple respect. Steve stands tall but humbly. Tony keeps his hands still at his sides. Spider-Man trembles. Darth Vader feels the Force swirl around the Tribunal like a slow whirlpool. Darth Vader, the Tribunal says without moving its mouths. You are a wound that walks. You are a scar yet to decide what story it will tell. Vader steps forward. I seek power to bring order, he says. In my world, that quest led me to darkness. Here, I find a new war. A mad Titan who calls murder mercy. I would stop him, but I will not break your law to do so. You broke law to come here, the Tribunal says. You tore a path between realities. You pressed power not meant for this universe into its skin. I followed a wound, Vader says. I did not make it. You made it worse, the Tribunal says. Vader does not deny it. Yes, he says. I made it worse, and I closed some of it. I would seal the rest. The Force is not a native tool here, the Tribunal says. It lives, but it flows in its own quiet way. Your use of it makes waves. The stones are also waves. When those waves meet, storms form. If you fight Thanos as you are, you may stop him and drown the world, or you may fail and still drown the world. Then tell me how to stand without drowning, Vader says. Why? The Tribunal asks. Why should this reality trust one who has slaughtered worlds? Why should you be more than another broken line in a long story of pride? Vader is quiet. He could lie. He could say he seeks redemption, that he wants to be a hero. But the tribunal sees through layers of reality. It would taste the lie. I do not ask for trust, Vader says. I ask for rules. Tell me what I may not do. Tell me what I must pay if I break that. I know how to obey strict law. I served an emperor. I can serve a higher one. There's a faint wry twist to Tony's mouth. He just offered to be your cosmic cop, he thinks. Careful what you assign him, big head. The tribunals. 3 faces shift, as if speaking silently to each other. At last, it speaks again. We will give you a mandate, it says. You will be bound. You will have 3 paths. You must choose. Images appear in the air around them. Vader sees himself walking away from Earth, through a sealed breach, back into his own galaxy. He sees events change there. He sees battles shift. He sees himself facing his own emperor again, with new knowledge and scars. In many futures, he dies sooner. In some he lives longer, but emptier. In all, this Marvel universe fights Thanos alone. He sees another path. He stays in this universe with no mandate. He acts as he wishes. He joins no law. He breaks Thanos, takes the gauntlet, and uses the stones and the Force together. For a time, he brings order. Crime drops, wars halt. But then heroes rise against him. Civil wars break out, worlds burn in his name. Other cosmic judges intervene. Reality shakes. He sees a third path. He stays with a mandate. He becomes something like a knight of the tribunal, bound to its rules. He fights Thanos under strict conditions. He may not kill to make order, only to protect life from clear present threat. Each time he uses great force power in this universe, a piece of his old pain is burned away. That sounds good, but it also burns memories, faces, names, parts of Anakin Skywalker's story. Over time, he becomes more symbol than man. Power Scaling Interlude 2, Doctor Strange sees the same visions and translates them quietly. If he returns home, Strange says, this world fights alone, and the breach closes. The Force leaves with him. Thanos still has the stones. If he acts as a free agent, Tony says, eyes on the images, he becomes a second Thanos with better lines. 2 control freaks with universe guns. That ends in civil war across galaxies. If he takes the mandate, Steve says, his power here is limited. He can only use big force moves when he's shielding life, not when he's trying to shape it. And he pays with his own past each time. He forgets pieces of who he was. Thor adds, in return, he gains the tribunal's backing. His strikes against Thanos will land harder, but his leash will be strong. Spider-Man whispers, so every time he saves us, he loses a memory? That's rough. The tribunal's hall grows quiet again. 3 paths, the tribunal says. Returned free agent, sanctioned servant. Each has a cost. There is no clean road. Show me who lives and dies on each, Vader says. The tribunal obeys. He sees Earth without him. He sees the Avengers fighting Thanos. In some futures, they win again with heavy losses. In others, Thanos wins, and half the universe dies for good this time. The breach slowly heals, but scars remain. He sees Earth with him as a free agent. He sees Thanos fall faster. He also sees concentration camps, worker worlds, a tower in the sky with his mask carved into it. He sees Spider-Man in chains. He sees Natasha leading a rebellion against him and dying for it. He sees Steve broken on the steps of a fortress that bears his own name. He sees Earth with him as a sanctioned servant. He sees Thanos fall. He sees smaller wars, smaller pains. He also sees himself in many battles, each time burning bright, each time forgetting something after. He sees a moment years later when a child holds up a sketch of his helmet and asks, "Who were you before the mask?" And he cannot answer. The tribunal speaks. "Return," it says. "Save yourself, fight your own war, and let this world live or die by its own choices." "Free agent," it says. "Seize control, shape fate by your will, and risk repeating your sins on a larger stage." "Sanctioned servant," it says. "Accept limits, accept pain, save many lives at the cost of your own story." Vader's breathing fills the hall. Up to now, he has been pulled by old habits: control, fear, the need to fix everything alone. Now, he must choose a new way, or prove he has not changed at all. He remembers sand. He remembers fire. He remembers a woman on a balcony saying, "You're going down a path I can't follow." He remembers standing over a boy with golden hair and a blue lightsaber, saying, "I am your father," and hearing only fear in reply. He looks at Steve Rogers, who stands with his shield, ready to accept whatever comes. He looks at Tony Stark, who wears scars under the suit. He looks at Spider-Man, who is still so young. "You consent to be bound?" the tribunal asks. "I chose to be bound once before," Vader says slowly. "I bent my knee to a man who spoke of peace and brought only fear. I will never bow to a man again." He lifts his chin. "But I will answer to a law higher than my own pain," he says. "I will not rule. I will guard. I will take the third path." "Are you sure?" Tony asks. "Once you pick that, there's no reset button. Trust me, I've looked for those." Vader nods. "If I return home," he says, "I will only repeat old cycles. If I act as a free agent, I will become what I hate. Here, under law, I may at least shape my hunger for order into a shield instead of a chain." The tribunal's three faces rotate. "So be it," it says. Light pours down. It wraps around Vader's armor. Lines of gold etch themselves into the black plates, forming symbols that echo both the Imperial crest and the Avengers' A. His red blade flickers, then returns. A faint ring of blue glows near the hilt, tying it to this universe's energy. Pain sears through his mind. Memories burn. He feels the sunset fade, a laugh. The smell of engine grease on Tatooine. He clutches at them, but they slip like smoke. He falls to one knee. Steve steps forward, but Strange holds him back. "This is the price," Strange says softly. When the light fades, Vader rises. His armor looks almost the same, but the new lines shine faintly. His chest panel hums. With both his old tech and a sliver of arc reactor design, Tony recognizes. "What do you remember?" the tribunal asks. Vader searches his mind. "I remember anger," he says, "and love, and loss. The details. Some are gone. The faces blur, but the lessons remain." "Then the burning worked," the tribunal says. "Your past is lighter. Your will is still heavy. Use it well." Codex note. As a sanctioned servant, every great act of Force Vader uses in this universe burns away a memory from his old life, leaving behind only the lessons and the scars. "Now go," the tribunal says. "Your Titan moves. Your world bleeds. The law is set. You may use your full power only to defend life from clear threat, never to force order on free minds. If you break this law, we will unmake you." Vader bows his head, not in servile obedience, but in clear agreement. "I accept," he says. The Aegis turns and leaves the citadel. On the way back, no mirror ships appear. The corridor is quieter, but Vader feels the hole in his mind and knows this is only the first memory he will lose. He places a hand over his chest. Up to now, Steve thinks as he watches him, he has chosen our side and given up part of himself for it. Now, We will see if that choice holds when the Titan comes again. Thanos does not wait long. When the Aegis nears Earth again, the planet is already wrapped in a dark net. From space, it looks like a web of purple lines around the globe. Nodes glow where the lines intersect. Wakanda, New York, Sokovia's ruins, the ruins of Vader's Star Destroyer in the Hudson, and several hidden sites linked to Hydra and Name. On the helicarrier, Natasha stands over a map. "We hit the cult cells," she says into the comm. "We stopped 3 rituals, but we couldn't stop them all." Thanos used his followers to anchor the power and space stones around the world. He's trying to lock this version of Earth in place so he can remake it. "Where is he now?" Steve asks as he straps into the Aegis's chair. "A small moon," Fury says. "Same place our sensors saw that throne earlier. He's waiting for you." "Of course he is," Tony says. "Big guy loves drama." Hulk snorts. "Hulk loved drama too. Hulk smash best when audience big." Spider-Man swallows hard. On the moon, Thanos stands on his rocky throne. He feels the Tribunal's touch in the distance. He feels the new tie around Vader's power. "So they bound you check dates," he says, as the Aegis lands on the grey surface. "You let yourself be leashed. I am almost disappointed." Darth Vader steps out onto the moon's dust, flanked by Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange. Above them, the dark web glows around Earth. "This leash is law," Vader says. "It is higher than both of us. You, Thanos, answer to no one but yourself. That is why you must fall." Thanos lifts his gauntlet. "I answer to reality," he says. "To math. To the numbers of mouths and resources. To the simple truth that you cannot have infinite growth in a finite world. The universe is mercy blind. I give it eyes." "You could give it wisdom instead," Steve says. "You could share, build, work. You chose murder because it's simpler." "Simple solutions are often the only ones that work on a scale this large," Thanos says. "Your scale is not an excuse," Strange says. "It is a warning." "Save your lectures," Thanos says. "I have heard heroes speak before. They always say the same words. They never answer the real question." He points at Earth. "How many are you willing to let die to keep your hands clean?" he asks. "You cannot save everyone. Choices must be made. I make them. You refuse to." Vader's red blade ignites. "My ethic is simple," Vader says. "Order without mercy is not order. It is fear. And fear breaks. I will not rule this universe. I will guard it. That is all." Thanos laughs. "You think you're a guard," he says. "You are a weapon that refuses to be honest. You crave control. You ache to make everything line up. You're me without courage." "We'll see," Vader says. The battle begins. Thor throws Mjolnir. Lightning crashes. Thanos raises the gauntlet. The Power Stone flashes. He catches the hammer with his bare hand and hurls it aside. Hulk charges. Thanos shifts his stance and meets him, redirecting his momentum, slamming him into the moon's surface. Craters bloom around them. Spider-Man swings on webs anchored in the thin gravity, using Stark-made boosters. He shoots webs at the gauntlet, trying to yank it sideways whenever Thanos points it. Iron Man flies overhead, firing repulsors in tight bursts, targeting the joints of the gauntlet. Doctor Strange opens portals under Thanos' feet, trying to unbalance him. He throws binding spells around the Titan's legs. Captain America darts in and out, shield raised, deflecting blasts that slip past. Vader moves through the chaos, using the Force in sharp, controlled bursts. He pulls debris into shields when Thanos fires wide-area blasts. He shoves his allies out of the path of falling rocks. He deflects some beams with his saber, but he can feel the backlash even when it doesn't hit him directly. Every big move sends a burn through his head. A small memory dims, a ship, a laugh, a color. He grits his teeth and keeps going. Codex note. Bound by the Tribunal, Vader's big force acts now tap into the universe's fabric with permission, but the fee is paid with pieces of his own past each time. Thanos grows annoyed. "You waste yourself protecting these fragile things," he says after one heavy blast that Vader redirects from Spider-Man, taking the backlash in his own body instead. "They will die anyway. So will you. Why suffer for them?" "Because they are not pieces on your board," Vader says. "They are lives, each one a story. I have destroyed enough stories." He feels something slip in his mind. A boy's name fades. He does not know whose. It hurts like losing a limb he did not know he still had. Thanos raises the gauntlet. "If you care so much for stories," he says, "let me show you the end of one." The power and space stones flash together. A beam blasts toward Earth, not toward the heroes. Doctor Strange gasps. "He's targeting the web anchors," Strange says. "He wants to collapse the net into the planet. It will crush cities. It will bend the crust. Millions will die at once." "We can't let that hit," Tony says. "We can't stop it," Banner says. "Not all of it. Not from this angle." Vader feels the beam like a blazing spear. It cuts through the force between moon and planet. He has one choice. He reaches out with everything he has. The force screams through him. Time folds for him alone. For a moment, he sees possible paths. If he lets the beam strike, Earth breaks but survives. If he redirects it back, Thanos shatters, but so does the corridor between universes, and reality frays. If he tries to absorb it, he dies, and his link to the breach collapses, sealing both worlds away from each other. He chooses. He pulls. The beam bends. It curves away from Earth, skimming its upper atmosphere, burning a bright scar across the sky. Satellites melt, space stations crumble, but the world itself lives. The beam slams into a dead rock far away. The rock explodes. Vader falls to his knees. Inside his mind, fire rages. He feels pieces of his past rip free and burn away. A mother's face, a friend's smile, a teacher's scowl, a lover's voice. All of it goes, leaving only the raw facts. He loved, he lost, he failed, he hungered for control and broke everything. And now he's here. He screams again, but this time the sound is more soul than throat. Spider-Man runs to his side. "Mr. Vader," he yells, then stops, realizing the Mr. is wrong. "Vader, are you okay?" "I am. Less," Vader says. His voice shakes. "But your world is more?" Thanos stares, eyes narrowed. "So that is your leash," he says. "You pay with yourself." He lifts the gauntlet. "Let us see how much you can spend before you're empty." He fires again. This time, Strange and Tony work together. Strange opens a portal. Tony fires a repulsor blast into it, and the redirected shot hits the beam, scattering it like a hose spray. Thor calls a storm inside the thin air, smashing lightning into Thanos' chest. Hulk leaps from behind and claps his hands around Thanos' head, stunning him for a moment. Captain America charges. He slams his shield into the gauntlet wrist, forcing it up. Spider-Man webs the fingers, jamming them in place. For a second, the stones flicker. "Now!" Steve shouts. Vader rises. His memories are lighter. His pain is heavier. But the law in his chest hums. The Tribunal's mark glows. He reaches out, not to crush or choke, but to bind. He seizes the gauntlet in the Force, not as a toy, but as a wound in need of sutures. He feels the stone's rhythm now. He feels how they twist the deep field. He does not try to control them. He tries to still them. Be quiet, he whispers. The power stone flickers. The space stone dims. Thanos roars and tries to pull back. The gauntlet shakes. The skin beneath his purple armor cracks as forces tear at him. Doctor Strange adds his magic, weaving a shell around the gauntlet. Tony fires a focused beam at the gauntlet's locking mechanisms. Thor smashes his hammer down on the back of Thanos' hand. The gauntlet cracks. There is a flash. The power and space stones pop free, flying into the air. Vader reaches out again and does not grab them. He opens a hole in reality instead. A small controlled breach shaped by the Tribunal's rules. The stones fall into it and vanish. Elsewhere, in the Tribunal's citadel, 2 more glowing gems appear in a sealed chamber and lock into stasis fields. Back on the moon, Thanos falls to his knees. His hand smokes. His eyes blaze with fury. "You steal from me," he growls. "You think your law will hold forever?" "Nothing holds forever," Steve says. "That's why we keep standing. Again and again." Thanos looks at Vader. "You could have taken that power," he says. "You could have become a god in truth. Instead, you give it to a judge who does not care if you live or die. You're a coward." Vader shakes his head. "No," he says. "I am tired." He lifts his saber. "The universe does not need another god," he says. "It needs time to heal." Thanos stands, still strong, even without those stones. "Come then," he says. "Let us see how much you can heal." The final clash is brutal. Thanos still has his own immense strength and skill. He still has 2 stones hidden, mind and soul, deep within armor on his chest, kept from normal scans. He uses them now. The Mind Stone lashes out. Vader staggers as visions slam into him. He sees all the people he killed, all the planets he helped crush. He feels their fear. It tries to freeze him. The Soul Stone peels at him, trying to pull out what remains of Anakin, to show it to him and break him. Vader almost falls. "I know what I was," he says through clenched teeth. "You cannot break me by showing me my own sins. I live in them already." He steps forward and swings. The red blade cuts through the armor on Thanos' chest, just missing his heart, but slicing the hidden stones free. They fall. Spider-Man sees the flash. He dives. He grabs the stones in webbing, wrapping them up like spiders wrap flies. "Got him!" he yells. The Soul Stone whispers to him. The Mind Stone presses against his young brain. He almost hears voices. He almost sees Uncle Ben. Then Strange throws a spell around the web bundle, cutting the connection. "Don't look," Strange says. "Not planning to," Peter says, shaking. The heroes pull back. Vader opens, another small breach, trembling. This time the cost is higher. He feels the last clear image of his own face without the mask burn away. He feels his name, Anakin, dim. He knows it still, but it is like a far star now. The stones fall through and are gone, locked with the others. Thanos falls to one knee, empty gauntlet hanging uselessly. He looks up at the heroes around him. "You have won a round," he says. "You have taken my tools, but the problem remains. The universe is still unbalanced. You have delayed the truth." "We'll keep delaying it," Tony says. "That's what we do. We buy time. We build better answers." "There are no better answers," Thanos says. "One day, you will see that." "Maybe," Steve says. "But on that day, maybe we'll be stronger, or kinder, or smarter. Either way, we'll face it together, not by killing half the universe to make the math easier." Thanos snorts. He looks at Vader. And you, he says, you had a chance to become the strongest being in two realities. You chose to be a guard dog on a cosmic leash. When you are nothing but armor and rules, with no memories left, will you still think this was worth it? Vader's breathing is slow. He feels empty in places, but he also feels something new, a kind of quiet inside the emptiness. I do not know, he says honestly, but I know this. You will not decide for me, not anymore. Doctor Strange binds Thanos in thick bands of orange magic. Thor adds chains of lightning. Hulk sits on his back, just in case. Stay, Hulk says. Bad purple man, stay. On Earth, the purple net around the globe fades as the anchors lose power. The scars remain, but they will heal. Up to now, Vader has given up more and more of himself to save a world that is not his, and has shown he will not take the easy path of domination. Now, he must live with that choice. They build a prison for Thanos not on Earth, but in a pocket dimension the Tribunal allows. He sits on a rock, chained, watched by cosmic guards, and occasionally visited by heroes who want answers or closure. Back on Earth, the work of healing begins. In New York, cranes rise beside shattered buildings. People paint over scorch marks. Children play in the shadow of a new memorial statue. A group of heroes standing together under a torn sky, holding up an invisible weight. The black-armored figure among them makes parents uneasy. In Wakanda, Shuri studies data from Vader's armor. The mix of his tech and Stark's and the Tribunal's mark, fascinating, she says. We could power ships, shields, many things, but it is tied to his body. We cannot simply copy it without risk. Then we don't, T'Challa, Black Panther says. We will not build new weapons from someone who already pays too much for his power. In the sanctum, Doctor Strange feels the breach slowly knit together. It will never be as it was, Wong says, but it will hold. In part, because one man chose limits, Strange says. That choice matters, even if he forgets why he made it. On the helicarrier, Nick Fury looks at a file. Subject, Darth Vader, it reads. Under it are notes, power level, limits, mandate, risks. Asset or threat? Maria Hill asks. Both, Fury says. Like every heavy hitter we've ever worked with. Difference is, this one has a cosmic judge backing him. That's new. Do you trust him? Hill asks. Fury shrugs. I don't trust anyone with that much power, he says. I just trust the rules we wrap around them. And the people we put next to them. In the Avengers compound's training yard, Darth Vader stands with his lightsaber. Spider-Man faces him with web shooters. Again, Vader says. Peter fires a web. Vader cuts it in half with smooth ease. You think too much, Vader says. You hesitate. You worry about what they will think of you if you hit too hard. That's called conscience, Peter says, panting. Conscience is the weight you carry after the choice, Vader says. Not the thing that makes the choice for you. You must still act. He steps forward, slow and steady. Peter jumps, flips, fires more webs. He tries to bind Vader's saber hand. Vader simply changes grip, moving with practice that is older than Peter's whole life. They pause. Why are you helping me? Peter asks. You could go be mysterious and broody on a rooftop somewhere. Vader looks up at the sky. I do not remember the faces of the children I once failed to protect, he says. But I remember that I failed. I will not do so again if I can help it. He looks at Peter. You remind me of someone, he says. I no longer know who, but the feeling is enough. On another day, he trains with Captain America. Steve throws the shield. Vader uses the Force to nudge its path, testing. He does not throw it at Steve. He throws it back in a perfect arc. You could have kept it, Steve says. You could have used it as another weapon. It is not mine, Vader says. He pauses. Once, I would have taken anything that made me stronger, he adds. Now I know strength without restraint is only another kind of weakness. Steve smiles faintly. You sound like you're learning, he says. I am forgetting as much as I learn, Vader replies. But some truths are too heavy to burn away. In a quiet room, Vader sits alone. He removes his helmet. We do not see his face. The camera looks from behind, at the back of scarred head and pale skin. He looks at an old, worn piece of cloth in his hands. He does not remember where he got it. It is the last physical thing he has from his other life that still stirs a feeling. He folds it gently and sets it aside. He stands and puts the helmet back on. In the city below, a child walks with a parent past a mural painted on a wall. It shows the Avengers. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and, in the corner, Darth Vader, red blade rays standing between Earth and a purple giant. The child points at Vader. Is he a hero or a villain? The child asks. The parent thinks. He is a god, they say at last. He did terrible things once. He does hard things now. He stands between us and the worst monsters. Sometimes that makes people afraid of him. But he chose to stand there. That matters. The child nods slowly. I think he looks sad, the child says. Maybe he is, the parent says. But sometimes sad people make the bravest choices. High above, on a dark rooftop, Darth Vader watches the city lights. He feels the force moving through the world, through people laughing in their homes, through trees in parks, through the slow healing of broken streets. He also feels empty spaces in his own mind where memories used to be. He does not know the names of the stars above. He does not remember the color of certain suns. But he knows this. He will not let Thanos or anyone like him speak for life again. He will not use fear as his only tool. He will burn away whatever remains of his past if that is what it takes to keep this world standing. He is Darth Vader, once a weapon of an empire, now a sanctioned servant of a higher law, bound by rules he chose when he could have chosen power instead. Codex note. In the records of the Living Tribunal, Darth Vader is marked as a guardian out of place, allowed to act within strict bounds to oppose any being who wields reality-breaking power as a tool of control rather than protection. In the shadows, he turns and walks away, cloak billowing, red blade dark for now. The city sleeps, for the moment, in this universe. That is enough. Rain starts as he walks, thin drops at first, then a steady fall that washes the smoke from the night. From the rooftop's edge, Darth Vader watches the streets darken and shine. He hears everything. A woman singing softly to a child 3 blocks away. A man cursing at a broken car. The distant rumble of a train. The hum of Stark tech in buried wires. The heavy, dull pain of cities that have survived too much. Under it all, one noise cuts sharper. A gun being cocked in an alley. He turns without thinking. The alley is 3 streets over. He steps off the roof and lets the force catch him, falling in 3 slow, heavy drops between buildings until his boots touch wet pavement. 2 men in masks stand over a kneeling shop owner. The owner holds a small box in shaking hands. Inside, Vader senses old coins, not much money, but all the man has. Please, the man whispers, my kids. The closer thug raises his gun. The gun rips out of his hand and slams into the wall, bending metal with a crunch. Both men spin in shock. Vader steps forward from the shadows, black armor catching the streetlight. "Leave," he says. His voice fills the alley. They stare at him. One laughs nervously. "You think we're scared of another costumed freak?" the man says. "We've seen heroes. We've seen monsters. You're just..." The man's words die as his feet leave the ground. Vader lifts him 10 centimeters into the air with the force. The man's hands fly to his throat, but Vader's grip is not tight. The man can still breathe. His feet kick weakly. The other thug drops to his knees, hands up. "We're sorry, okay?" he stammers. "We're done. We're leaving." Vader lowers the man. He looks at the gun on the ground. With a small gesture, he crushes it into a ball of useless metal. "You will not come back," Vader says. Both men nod rapidly. They scramble away, slipping in the rain. The shop owner kneels, shaking. "Thank you," he says. "Whoever you are, thank you." Vader looks at him. The old reflex is there. End the threat. Make sure they never return. Fear keeps order. He lets it pass. "I am here to guard," he says, "not to rule. Lock your door. Tomorrow, speak to your city's defenders. Tell them where these men live. Justice is not mine alone." The man nods, confused but grateful. Vader turns and walks back into the night, cloak heavy with rain. He feels no new hole in his mind. The act was small. The tribunal's mark on his chest is calm. He used power, but not beyond the boundaries. For now, his memories are safe. Morning at the Avengers compound comes with grey clouds and the buzz of busy people. In the main conference hall, a large table glows with holographic screens. Around it sit Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, Natasha Romanoff, Bruce Banner, Thor, Doctor Strange, T'Challa via hologram, Carol Danvers via another, and Nick Fury at the head. Darth Vader stands at the far end, hands resting on the table's edge. On the main holo, words scroll under a title, Vader Protocol. Operating Mandate. Fury reads aloud. Clause 1, he says. Darth Vader will not assume command of any Earth government, military or law enforcement agency. He is a defender, not a ruler. Simple enough, Tony says. No space empire 2.0. Clause 2, Fury continues. He will use high-level force abilities, city-scale telekinesis, mind control, reality-adjacent breaches, only in direct defense of life from immediate threat. No preemptive strikes, no peacekeeping through fear. That matches the tribunal's law, Strange says. Every time he pushes past that, he pays with himself. We do not want him empty. Clause 3, Fury reads. He submits to coordinated planning in any major operation. That means if we're fighting a cosmic threat, he sits in this room and listens and speaks like the rest of us. No solo crusades. Vader's mask tilts slightly. I have led many operations, he says. I'm not used to asking for permission. That's the point, Natasha says. We're not your stormtroopers. You're not our boss. We're a team. You don't like the plan. You say so in here. Out there, we move together. Clause 4, Fury goes on. If Darth Vader shows signs of slipping from Guardian to would-be ruler, if he starts using fear and killing as first tools, not last, we are authorized to stop him by any means, up to and including lethal force. That includes calling in the Living Tribunal again. The room is quiet after that. Steve looks at Vader. This part isn't about not trusting you, Steve says. It's about giving you the thing you asked for. A leash not held by a man, but by law, and by us. Vader's breathing is slow, You would kill me, he says, if I broke this trust. If you became the thing you used to be again, Natasha says, we'd have to. I won't lie and pretend otherwise. Thor nods. I have seen good men fall, he says. I have seen tyrants rise with good words. If you walk that path, friend, I will stand in your way with hammer raised. But until that day, if it comes, we stand beside you. Tony taps the table. There's also this, he says. You're asking us to be your failsafe. That's heavy. If we ever need to pull that trigger, the tribunal will listen, but we'll have to live with it. Vader looks at the glowing text. He hears his own words in memory. I will answer to a law higher than my own pain. I accept Clause 4, he says. If I become a monster, you must end me. That is the only way this can work. Fury nods, satisfied. Clause 5, me, he reads. Oversight. A council of 3 will review any large-scale force use after the fact. Doctor Strange, Captain America, and 1 rotating representative from Wakanda, SHILD, or Asgard. They will decide if the act met the mandate. If not, they will report to the tribunal. Think of it as a report card, Tony says. You save a city, you get a grade. We all do it, in our own ways. Yours is just written in glowing cosmic ink. Vader almost feels a small curl of humor in his chest at that. Is this vote binding? T'Challa asks from the hologram. His calm voice fills the room. If 2 of the 3 say he crossed the line, we proceed to warning or stronger actions. Yes, Strange says. This spreads the weight. It keeps any one of us from playing judge alone. Vader looks at Steve, Strange, and T'Challa. That makes you my wardens? He says. Steve shakes his head. It makes us your partners, he says. Partners with a very sharp backup plan. Up to now, their rules have been spoken more than written. Now they carve them into light and law, tying Vader's fate to their own in clear words everyone in the room understands. After the meeting, Steve finds Vader in the training hall. The room is big and simple. High ceiling, reinforced walls, old scuff marks from many fights. Vader stands in the center, saber unlit in his hand. You agreed to a lot in there, Steve says as he walks up. Most people don't like giving others that much power over them. I have lived without anyone to stop me, Vader says. It did not go well, for me or for anyone else. Steve nods. That's honest, he says. I respect that. He rests his shield on his arm. I wanted to say this plainly, Steve adds. If that day ever comes, the one from Clause 4, if we have to stand against you, though, I won't enjoy it. But I also won't delay it. I waited too long before, with other people. I won't make that mistake again. Vader looks at him. You have faced friends turned foes before, he says. Yes, Steve says. And I've been on the other side of the line too. To some people, I was the traitor, the threat. Law is messy. That's why we need hearts we trust behind it. He steps closer. Right now, I trust you as much as I can trust someone with your history, Steve says. You've made hard choices on our side. You've bled for a world that isn't yours. That counts. Vader is silent for a moment. You remind me of someone, he says. We stood on opposite sides of a war. He also carried a shield. He also believed people could be better than their fear. Steve smiles faintly. Sounds like somebody I'd want to meet, he says. He tried to save me, Vader says. I did not let him. I killed him instead, in my old story. Steve's smile fades. That's a lot to live with, he says. Yes, Vader says. It is why I will not argue if you ever raise your shield against me. He looks at the ceiling. But I hope, he adds quietly, that this time, the man with the shield will not have to die to stop me. Steve lifts the shield and rests it against his shoulder. So do I, he says. So let's keep making choices that make that future more likely. They stand in silence for a while, two soldiers from different wars, bound by a promise neither wants to test. Far away, in the void between galaxies, something else watches. On the edge of the universe, the Watcher stands on an invisible balcony. Watu's eyes are wide and sad. He has seen countless timelines. He has seen Darth Vader fall in his own universe, and he has seen him die redeemed in another version of the story. This one is new. A man ripped from one narrative, Watu murmurs, placed into another, bound not by fate but by law. He looks down at Earth, at the tiny points of light where heroes move. He was a villain, the Watcher says. He is not a hero. Not yet. But he is something else, a pivot, a hinge. He sees ripples. In one possible future, Vader stands between Earth and Galactus. His red blade bright, the Tribunal's mark glowing. In another, he leads a strike team into the negative zone. In another, he stands in judgment over a rogue celestial, refusing to let a god crush a city. In some futures, he falls. In others, he endures. A dark figure on the edge of many battles. The Watcher sighs. I must not interfere, he reminds himself. I only observe. But he will be watching this path closely. It is rare to see someone choose a leash over a throne. On a hidden Hydra base deep under the Alps, surviving leaders gather in a cold room. Screens show images of the battle on the moon. Vader bending the beam. Stones falling into cracks. Thanos bound. Our Titan ally failed, one masked man says. He was never our ally, another replies. Just a force moving in the same direction for a time. He wanted to cull so that others could grow, a woman says. We wanted order under our banner. Now this. Vader stands against both. They rewind the footage. They watch Vader's red blade cut through Thanos' armor. They watch him open control breaches that eat stones from the world. He's dangerous, the woman says. More dangerous than the Avengers. They still hesitate. They still cling to feelings. He cuts cleaner. He is bound by a higher law now, the first man says. But all chains can be tested. All laws can be bent. He presses a button. On another screen, lines of data appear. Scans of Vader's armor, energy readings, rumors from frightened Hydra agents who saw him in the field. We will find the edges of his mandate, the man says. We will make him choose between law and fear. If we push him hard enough, he may break. If he breaks, the tribunal will unmake him. And in the chaos, we will rise. Or, the woman says, eyes thoughtful, we could try to turn him, show him that true order is ours. The man laughs dryly. You want to recruit the Dark Guard? He asks. Good luck. Codex note, among Hydra and other hidden factions, Vader's mandate is viewed not only as a leash, but as an opportunity to probe the limits of cosmic law for their own gain. In the pocket dimension prison, Thanos sits on his rock and waits. There is no day or night here, just a soft, even light. The air never changes, the chains never rust. He hears footsteps. He looks up. Doctor Strange steps through a floating ring of orange sparks. Behind him, slightly, walks Darth Vader. The guards, a pair of silent tall beings made of light, watch without moving. Come to gloat, Thanos asks. Or to ask for my wisdom? Neither, Strange says. I am here as witness. He is here because the tribunal wanted him to see something. Vader steps closer. Thanos stands as far as his chains allow, You look smaller, Vader says. You look emptier, Thanos answers. He tilts his head. How many pieces of yourself have you burned since our last talk? He asks. How many memories gone? Enough, Vader says. He does not list them. He does not say the names he can no longer recall. Thanos smiles slightly. Do you think they will thank you? He asks. When you are nothing but armor and rules? When the man inside is gone? Do you think they will build statues to your sacrifice? I do not care for statues, Vader says. I care that when children walk the streets at night, they do not have to look up and fear the sky. Thanos snorts. You think they won't? He asks. You're a shadow on every screen. You are the Dark One in every lineup. You have become their fear, whether you like it or not. Vader is silent. Strange looks between them. The Tribunal wanted you to see him without the stones. Strange says to Vader, to see what remains when his tools are gone. Thanos sits again. What remains, Thanos says, is a clear mind. I still believe I was right. I still believe the universe will catch up to my view one day. You have delayed that moment, but you have not erased it. He leans back. Go, Dark Guard, he says. Play at redemption. Burn yourself away for people who will never truly forgive you. When you're gone, the same old problems will still be there. Maybe then, someone with my courage will stand up again. Vader looks at him for a long moment. I do not seek their forgiveness, he says. I seek their safety. That is enough. He turns away. As he steps through the portal, Strange holds open. Thanos calls after him. You can't guard forever, Thanos says. One day, you will be gone. What then? Vader pauses at the threshold. Then I hope, he says, without turning, that the children I guarded will grow into people who do not need someone like me. He steps through. The portal closes. Strange looks back at the empty rock and the chained Titan. For what it's worth, Strange says quietly, I think that frightens you more than any gauntlet ever could. Thanos says nothing. In a small school in Queens, a teacher wheels in a holo projector. Today, she says, we're talking about the Battle of the Moon. The lights dim. A hologram flickers to life. Tiny figures moving on grey dust. A big purple Titan. Bright flashes. Children murmur and point. That's Spider-Man, one says. That's Hulk, says another. Who's the black one? A third asks quietly. With the red sword, the teacher pauses. There is a debate running in the world about how to teach this. Some parents wanted Vader banned from textbooks. Others wanted him praised. The truth is harder. That is Darth Vader, the teacher says. He comes from another universe. He did terrible things there. Here, he helped stop Thanos. Is he a hero? The first child asks. The teacher thinks of the mural downtown, of the news shows, of the law papers, of the stories people tell. I think he's someone trying very hard to do the right thing after doing many wrong things, she says. Some people call that a kind of hero. Some don't. What matters is what we learn from his choices. What did he choose? A girl in the back asks. He chose limits, the teacher says. He chose to let other people stop him if he goes too far. He chose to give up pieces of himself to protect others. That is not simple, but it is brave. The hologram shows the moment the beam bent away from Earth. One small boy watches, eyes wide. Later, at home, he will draw a picture of a tall black figure standing between a city and a falling star. He will not pray to that figure. He will not beg it for power. But when he is grown and he faces his own hard choice, he will remember that sometimes strength means putting chains on yourself. On another rooftop weeks later, Spider-Man and Darth Vader sit side by side, legs dangling over the edge. The city hums below. Peter swings his feet. "Do you ever get tired of the breathing thing?" he asks after a while. "Not the living part, the sound. People hear you coming." "It is not a choice," Vader says. "Yeah," Peter says. "I get that." He pulls his mask up to his nose and eats a churro he brought. "I used to wish I could be someone totally different," Peter says around a mouthful. "Someone without mistakes, without guilt, without people to lose. Then I met a lot of heroes and villains and realized nobody gets that, not even in other universes." He glances at Vader. "You lost a lot," Peter says. "I can see it, even if I don't know the details." "I have lost much," Vader agrees. "Do you regret taking the mandate?" Peter asks. "The leash, the memory burn, all of it." Vader looks out over the lights. "When I stand in quiet places and I try to recall my mother's face and I find nothing but feelings." "Yes," he says. "Part of me regrets it. Regret is a kind of ghost." He pauses. "But when I hear a child laughing in a street that used to be rubble, and no giant ship hangs over it, and no titan waits to snap it away. No, in those moments, I do not regret it." Peter nods slowly. "I think that's how a lot of us feel," he says. "About this job, I mean. We lose things. Time, people, parts of ourselves. But when the city sleeps, it feels worth it." Vader studies him. "You are young," he says. "Do not burn yourself away as I did." "I'll try not to," Peter says. "But if I ever start turning into the thing I fight, promise you'll stop me." Vader's mask turns toward him. "I will," he says. "That is part of my duty now." Peter smiles. "Good," he says. "Because I'm supposed to be on my math homework right now, and I'm already breaking enough rules." Below them, a siren wails. Peter stands. "Duty calls," he says. He leaps off the roof, web catching. Vader watches him swing away. He feels the force move with the boy, bright and quick and open. For a moment, he envies that openness. Then he steps back into the dark, ready to be what he chose. A wall between worlds. A sword that cuts only when it must. A man who used to be many things and is now only one thing by choice. The night goes on. The city breathes. And somewhere in the invisible records of cosmic law, a line glows. Darth Vader, Guardian of Earth, 616. Sanctioned, watched, and still, despite everything, choosing